We've got Emeka Anyadike, who is a sports consultant, joining us to give us more insight on how this warring is affecting the whole world. Welcome to the show. And of course, what's your take on the tournament that we're expecting to kick off later this year in this summer?
Thanks for having me, and good evening, everyone. And nice to see you also, Winnie. I must say that, let me just chat back. Let's talk briefly about the breaking news situation about the World Cup. I don't understand how Nigerians like to just create narratives around this, and also from the media point of view, I've seen headlines saying that FIFA has ruled out Nigeria and all of those kind of things. First and foremost, we were knocked out, so Congo qualified, and a lot of the fixtures were released. FIFA didn't say anything about it, and this is an organization that I know very well, having worked with them. Usually when a statement is issued, a formal statement will be issued concerning that particular incident, a decision can be taken even one day before or a couple of days before the tournament if they come to a conclusion and if they decide that Congo should be kicked out, they'll be kicked out. Right now, nothing was said about it, but I don't know where all of those headlines came from. But I just wanted to put that out there. It's really unfortunate, the kind of journalism that we have right now. Secondly, now regarding this whole incident with the US and Israel and Iran, it's very unsettling because this is the first time we have seen a World Cup host actually go out and fight a war before the World Cup. In the past, we've had with Mexico, we had with Chile, we had earthquakes, we had all kinds of scenarios of natural disasters that seem to want to derail the tournament, and mostly eventually it did take place. But now, we saw with Mexico the previous week, we had this incident in Guadalajara, in Jalisco, and now we also have this war situation. It's a very delicate balance because no one knows how far it's going to go. You have issues with whether Iran will take part, but then also there will be all kinds of security concerns because this is a global crisis, which, you're talking 100 days to the World Cup. When is the war going to end? Do we know if this war will drag on? 4 years ago, we had Russia invade Ukraine, and they were suspended or banned. Them and Belarus were banned. FIFA had not reinstated them. And now we have a scenario where the US is actually, going to fight a war with Iran. It's risks of double standard and nothing has been done because there hasn't been any action or any clamor. So it puts the World Cup in a very, very, for football fans, even those who are going to be traveling. In fact, the entire disruption, some of the best flights or the cheapest and sometimes the most comfortable flights to anywhere in the world go through that region, particularly with airlines like Qatar Airways, so Doha, Etihad in Abu Dhabi, and especially Dubai airports. Those are airports that are used by a lot of people to ferry themselves. And then, of course, you have situations where ticket prices will go up, and then uncertainties about how far this will escalate, will there be retaliation, will there be any other issues? It's very, very uncomfortable situation, and we've never experienced it with any World Cup. I can tell you comfortably, going back to 1930, we have never had, the closest we had would have been 1938 after the World Cup. There was already things brewing, and eventually, post 1938, there wasn't any other World Cup until 1950. So ever since, there's been no issue except maybe 1966 when they didn't get a seat, permanent place in World Cup. So this is a very, very uncomfortable position for everyone involved, for FIFA, for football fans, And even for the United States, I don't know how in their head they will not think the World Cup right now. And all the talks will be about, safety, security, and how soon this particular war will come to an end. And I hope that something is done about it, because I don't remember any time we had the build-up to the World Cup and most countries at war. Never.
Well, Emeka, it's like ironical. While we are expressing fears, particularly about the bombings of US and Israel in Iraq, the tickets for the World Cup in the United States have gone up, and Infantino, the president of FIFA, said there are high demands for the tickets. And, I don't understand why it's like that. We from here are believing that going there is a risk, and people are still demanding for tickets. Then secondly, my question is about Iran. In the event that they boycott, because they're already threatening to boycott the World Cup, in the event that they boycott the World Cup, is it not going to affect, so many other things, especially countries from that region? How will FIFA go ahead? Because Donald Trump has said he doesn't care when they asked him. He said it straightforward, that he doesn't care if Iran decides to boycott or they decide to attend. In all of this, what will happen at the end of the day?
I will say this. FIFA always anticipates every kind of scenario. Right now, there are two. There's UAE and I think Iraq. Within the framework of the playoffs, they had the thing. So there's already teams that could potentially replace Iran if Iran was to pull out of the World Cup. So just like I said earlier, if let's say Congo qualifies for the World Cup before the FIFA decision on that thing happens, they will be kicked out, and an arrangement will be made to have another team from Africa, maybe between Nigeria and Cameroon, or maybe just Nigeria replaces them. But there's always a plan within the FIFA framework. They don't leave anything to chance. They plan for every kind of scenario, and that's why, to tell you why a lot of these international sports bodies or the global sports industry, they take everything like purely business. It's here in Nigeria that we don't sometimes realize that we have to plan for every kind of scenarios. Wimbledon, ahead of COVID in 2020, they took out an insurance. They were the only sporting body that could cancel Wimbledon without losing money, because they took out insurance for pandemic. And everybody was wondering, how could they have thought about it? But Wimbledon is over than 100 years, and they knew already that in 1918 there was a pandemic, which led to all kinds of upheavals. So they took out insurance and they were paying their premium, so they could comfortably cancel Wimbledon in the year 2020, and nothing happened. The insurance companies have paid them their money, and they didn't lose any money. Everybody else postponed. IOC postponed the Olympics. Euros were postponed. Even AFCON in 2021 was postponed. But Wimbledon did not postpone. They cancelled it. They didn't even bother. They just cancelled Wimbledon and played it the next year. And the insurance paid them. So there's always a plan for every kind of scenario, because you can have a whole team.
All right.
Somebody can decide, or the team goes to war. I mean, I'll give you an example. Austria was one of the first countries that the Germans overran, ahead of the beginning of the Second World War. So the Austrians had a team, which were known as the Austrian Wonder Team. They were old, and they got set back tremendously because the Germans invaded them.
Yeah.
So they have already experiences, and they know that things could happen. You could have a country which qualifies for the World Cup, and then they are at war and they cannot attend. So there's always a plan. You know, there's a plan. And even they've had scenarios. In 1930, when the first World Cup was done, there were 13 teams instead of 16, because back then there were no flights to get to Uruguay. The FIFA rented a boat, a ship. They booked a ship, and that ship had the FIFA president, the ESCO members. It had the 4 European teams. Egypt was supposed to go, but the Egyptian team couldn't get to, I can't remember, one of the European ports where they were supposed to board, but they couldn't get there on time, so Egypt didn't go. So Egypt eventually went to 1934. So the king of I don't know, was the king of Belgium.
All right.
One of the teams had the king on that flight, and so they sailed all the way until they got to the coast of South America, and they were picking up the teams, picked up Brazil even, and went to Uruguay.
Europe.
You know, so it was, yeah, there's always a plan, you know, for what will happen if certain scenarios don't play out. So, but with FIFA, I know that they are that organized. They don't. I mean, I attended all kinds of meetings in planning for Qatar 2022, and I know how much
has been put into
you know, checklist, how many things were ticked off.
Right.
In the process. So.
Okay. Well, we will look forward to what will happen this time around. I mean, about 2 months to go to the tournament, about 3 months to go to the tournament, and we would see what would happen if Iran would participate or not. But of course, we're just hoping that there'll be good news at the end of the day, and we'll see that light at the end of the tunnel. I'll say thank you very much, Emeka Anyadike, for joining us today on the show.
Just before I go,
all right, sir.
Iran and America, they've always had this big shot and dog scenario. Remember when they ended up being put in the same World Cup group in '98?
Very true, very true.
Yes, very, very true. So, I mean, the drama continues, and we'll see what happens. I mean, football is meant to unify all of us. Yeah. Well, thank you very much once again, Emeka, for joining us on the show today.